Thank you, Reese. So Coach Corso picks the Huskies as we welcome you to the SEC on ESPN. From Seattle sailgating with salmon cakes to down home Southern style. How about a little chicken and waffles for all? Of course, the team Washington replaced in the college football playoff rankings was Texas A&M. Texas A&M was upset by this Mississippi State squad that Bama now gets a hold of. And if everything stays the course, Todd, perhaps it's a long road ahead. We could get Alabama against Washington come December 31st. As we say, good afternoon, everybody. Thrilled that you're starting your college football Saturday game with us right here. Todd, does this game have the recipe for a Bama letdown?
There's some interesting ingredients. First of all, this 11 a.m. Central kickoff, very unusual for Alabama. Only their second time in their last 37 games. Could have an impact on the team. Also the crowd, a little sleepy maybe as we start. The other thing, historically, Alabama has not started well offensively the week following the LSU game. They've not scored an offensive touchdown in the first quarter in the game after LSU since 2001. However, the master chef around here, Nick Saban, does as good a job as any fighting complacency.
It's an interesting angle, the LSU hangover, as a little bit of a breeze here today. Ball falls off. Alabama won the toss, and they will receive.
And I think that's a very important little key to what Alabama wants to do today. As good as their defense has been, they took the ball to start. They want to get off to a fast start offensively, particularly in the passing game with their young quarterback, Jalen Hurts.
So Brad Wall will tee it back up. The true freshman walk-on kickoff specialist out there because Logan Cook is injured. And a good boot. Now goes for the touchback. Let's say hello to Holly.
Well, Todd, you talked about Alabama wanting to get their passing game going, but their running game is a bit nicked up today. Bo Scarborough, who was so important last week against LSU with some key fourth down conversions, is nicked up. He's a game-time decision with a right knee injury that Coach Saban is calling a strained ligament. He did warm up. He had a big brace on his right knee. If he is unable to play, that leaves them with just two scholarship running backs. Damian Harris, the starter, and Josh Jacobs. Now, Harris is not 100% either. You can see a sleeve on his right knee. He did get a little nicked up against LSU last week. They are determined not to run Jalen Hurts too much. He's had 41 carries in the last 2 games, but running back depth is small.
Well, right away, they're going to want to get this guy involved. Calvin Ridley.
And Ardarius Stewart, the first to touch the ball this afternoon. The junior wide receiver with the carry. And there is the true freshman quarterback from just outside of Houston, Jalen Hurts. 258 yards of total offense per game. That is 5th best in the SEC, #1 among all freshmen in the league.
Incredible poise he has shown.
And you go with Damian Harris as he gets his first carry. The impact players are brought to you by Jared, the Galleria of Jewelry. And we will start with the aforementioned Damian Harris. Says he wears number 34 because he would YouTube the all-time great NFL backs. Walter Payton, Earl Campbell, and all the rest. Calvin Ridley is still the star attraction. And Richie Brown, the beard, 8 tackles in the upset of A&M in the middle of that Mississippi State defense. 2nd and 7 as he quickly gets it to O.J. Howard. And you suspect we may see more of that today.
Well, here's the deal. They have 3 dynamic players on the perimeter, and O.J. Howard, Ardarius Stewart, and Calvin Ridley. Last week in Baton Rouge, those 3 combined for only 6 catches for 75 yards. They need to get those guys involved and get them involved quickly in this ball game.
Quickly out to Stewart. You see that burst that Stewart has when he's on the perimeter. And they are moving down the field with ease on this opening drive.
And we've yet to see a quarterback run. And that is by design. They don't want to run Jalen Hurts as much. They want to use this game the best they can to develop his passing ability and his comfort from throwing in the pocket.
Pitch to Harris as he got a good block on the outside from Garrett Dieter, and Richie Brown able to make the tackle.
Sometimes when you have a quarterback who is an excellent runner, as Jalen Hurts has proven to be, it takes him a little bit longer to develop as a passer. And at this point in the season, that's what Lane Kiffin and Nick Saban want to see, growth in their young quarterback.
Here's Hurts downfield. He goes wide open was Calvin Ridley. So already Ridley, Stewart, and Howard involved.
They're too good on the perimeter for them to be non-factors in games, and so this is the game they wanted, very much by design, to get those three guys the ball in their hands quickly.
As Harris tries to probe for some yardage, a pickup of 2.
The last 2 games against A&M and LSU, Jalen Hurts ran the ball over 40 times, and they want to save him a little bit physically and at the same time develop him as a passer.
Play action. He's got Stewart and Ridley downfield, and he's going to throw short that time of Ardarius Stewart.
Good
so leave him with a 3rd and 8.
First time Torrey Dale, number 49, able to get some pressure on Jalen Hurts.
You mentioned the LSU hangover. It's been going on for a long time. Alabama, going back to 2001, has not scored a first quarter touchdown the week following the traditional clash of the SEC West Titans. Third and 8 here for Hurts. Has plenty of time to search over the options. And now he's going to tuck and run, and he is forced out by Dre Ward.
Took a hard hit right there on the sideline. The Alabama coaching staff looking for a flag. It was close, but I don't think it deserved a flag. But Jalen Hurts, again, outstanding running the football. His running in the 4th quarter a week ago was the difference in the ball game in Baton Rouge.
So on comes Adam Griffith, now 5th on the all-time Alabama scoring list. This a 30-yard field goal attempt out of the hold of Cooper Bateman. And the opening drive will go for 3. Bama right down the field and right on the board. Nick Fitzgerald, very capable young quarterback for Mississippi State, up next.
Welcome to the Dr. Pepper Championship Drive Game of the Week.
On a beautiful day here in T-Town, the capstone, the University of Alabama. Second longest continuously played series for Alabama when you look through their record book. Mississippi State just a short drive away over the border. The Tide, #1 ranked team in the country, with an early field goal to get the day started. As Griffith will kick away. And Keith Mixon from the goal line. Great coverage by the Tide. Well, it has been an interesting ride for the Bulldogs. 4-5, 4 losses by 7 points, 3 losses on the final play of the game. They had the win against South Carolina, and then the big upset that shook up the playoff rankings against Texas A&M. And of course, 2 wins away from bowl eligibility, but it will not be easy with that remaining schedule.
Well, the last 2 weeks, this quarterback, Nick Fitzgerald, has played extremely well. He's not only their leading passer, he's their leading rusher on the season as well.
Brandon Holloway motions out of the backfield as Fitzgerald gets it complete on his first pass of the day to Farrod Green. Nick Fitzgerald last week topped 391 yards of total offense and 4 touchdowns against the Aggies.
He's 6'5", 230 pounds. He has a live arm, and he's very fast. He played in a wishbone offense in high school, lightly recruited. The only other scholarship offer was to Middle Tennessee, but he has really taken the position here the last several weeks.
Harris Williams coming off his big day as well. The impact players are brought to you by Jared, the Galleria of jewelry. The Bulldogs have a great one, and wide receiver Fred Jones leads the SEC in touchdown catches. Of course, the Bama defense, arguably the best defensive player in the country, is Jonathan Allen. 25 career sacks, 2 fumble return touchdowns this year, and Ryan Anderson is a leader among the linebackers.
They led the nation in sacks last year. They're on pace to break that mark this year. But this Mississippi State offense forces you to slow down just a hair because of all the things they do.
As they try to run with Deere on 2nd and 6, and he was denied by that Tide wall and Deron Payne.
The one thing that is darn near impossible to do against Alabama is run the football in between the tackles. They're best in the country in stopping the run, only 66 yards per game, 2.1 yards per carry. And then they get you in these 3rd down situations and unleash their pass rushers. None better than this guy right here, Tim Williams. A lot of runs on 3rd down for Nick Fitzgerald.
3rd and 6, and look who gets to him. Tim Williams with his 8th sack of the year.
He's so fast, and when you're playing at home and that crowd works in your favor, he just beats the left tackle right away. And Fitzgerald has to know from this very first possession, my clock in my head needs to speed up against these guys in terms of holding on to the football.
Now a true freshman punter in Cody Scheck-Snyder on to punt against the Tide, and it is not a pretty one at all. As he hits it out of bounds, end over end, and Alabama is going to have tremendous field position to start their 2nd drive, marked out at about the 32-yard line. Well, this is going to be T-ball now for the Bama offense, already up a field goal. Stay with us.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Chevrolet. More 2016 J.D. Power Dependability Awards than any other brand.
Well, we want to give our salute to our nation's veterans, past and present. Thank you all for your service. We have 2 veterans on this college football production crew, Joel Thomas and Bill Lemonier, our rules expert, flanking us to the left.
Perfect situation after that short punt right now for Alabama to go with a play action and a throw to the end zone. We mentioned their lack of offensive touchdowns in the first quarter following the LSU game. No better chance than right here to go for 1.
Just a 17-yard punt for Mississippi State. Hurts.
He had Ridley wide open, but he didn't see him.
And that continues the discussion. He's able to do that when he doesn't have it. But this was part of the discussion we had with Nick Saban yesterday.
Well, Ridley is right here, and he is going to run a post pattern, and he's going to be wide open. But Jalen Hurts reads the strong side of the field, but he doesn't get back to see the backside and misses Ridley, which would have been a touchdown.
After the 9-yard run, the strike inside the 10 to O.J. Howard, and a flag is down back at the 26, so we will check to see if this stands.
Alabama with a change in their offensive line today. Corey Curvin, number 78, starting at right guard.
Foul. Hands to the face, number 98 on the defense. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
That's Jeffrey Simmons, the talented freshman defensive lineman.
Got his hands in there on Bradley Bozeman, the center. They've had some issues a little bit on the inside. Their 2 tackles, Alabama's offensive tackles, have played at a pretty consistent level. They've had a few changes and different combinations inside. Bradley Bozeman, the center, has played probably as well as he can play.
Empty set here for Jalen Hurts with 1st and goal.
Big quarterback run option here.
Going to sprint to the near side. Try to tuck and run, but he's wrestled down at about the 4-yard line that time by Simmons.
It's a two-man route to that side when you roll the quarterback. And Mississippi State did a good job of covering the two intended receivers, Stewart and Dieter.
Second and goal. And Calvin Ridley with the touchdown, his 6th of the year. Thirteen passing touchdowns now for Jalen Hurts.
It's hard to lock in on a guy when you put him in motion, and that's what they did with Ridley. Watch Dieter right here. He kind of gets away with a little bit of a throwdown. It clears it out for Ridley. Hurts missed him on the long pass on first down, but he saw him the whole way for this one, and a touchdown for Alabama.
Incredible career numbers in less than 2 full seasons for Calvin Ridley, as he now has 13 career touchdown receptions. Let's go down to the field to Holly.
Well, it's just remarkable. That's the first touchdown in the first quarter post LSU since 2001. Just think about that, guys. It is amazing how they've been able to recover from that very physical battle. The players told us that they had to come in on Sunday for treatment, recovery work, and then they do a stretch and stride Sunday afternoon at 5 p.m. to get that body moving. But they also really encouraged each other to go to bed early. Jonathan Allen said, I wanted our team to be in bed by 8:30 or 9 o'clock last night for that 6:45 a.m. wake-up call today. Looks like they're awake.
So they break through with that LSU hangover. 10-zip here.
Ironically, that touchdown they scored in 2001 was against this same Mississippi State team.
Brandon Holloway on the return from the end zone, as he was able to catch a little bit of a seam there and get to the 25. Let's find out what's happening elsewhere with Adnan.
Thanks, Joe Tess. It's a Taco Bell studio update over in the SEC Network, Kentucky and Tennessee. Josh Smith, the 24-yard touchdown reception. 19th touchdown of the year for Josh Dobbs. Kentucky hasn't won in Knoxville since 1984. It's 7-all right now, Joe.
So 7-7 there. You know, a lot of people have been highly critical of the SEC East and the muddled chase to get to Atlanta between Florida, Kentucky, Tennessee disappointing some this year. We will see who makes their way. Florida controlling their destiny as of right now. Fitzgerald got to take a shot over the top sometimes against the Tide, and he comes up empty as he was looking for Donald Gray.
Yeah, I love the call. I think you have to do this against Alabama. You have to challenge their corners to make plays down the field. They went after Everett, and he made a nice play on the football. You got to get rid of it quickly, but first down is a great chance to throw it down the field.
Fitzgerald on 2nd and 10. There's a big collision that time as Keith Mixon met up with Sean Dion Hamilton.
Well, those are two good throws, two potentially caught back footballs. But the problem is now you're 3rd and 10 against the best third down team in your league in Alabama.
And that guy is opposite you. Perhaps the best pure speed rusher in the country. Tim Williams, already a sack today. Fitzgerald with time downfield and wide open this time is Donald Gray. A big chunk play for the Bulldogs.
Excellent protection. It was only a 4-man rush, but excellent protection. And that enabled Fitzgerald to kind of stay in the pocket and come back to the right sideline, and a nice touch pass between the corner and the safety, and a big play for the Bulldogs.
40-yard reception for Donald Gray.
Donald Gray 2 weeks ago against Sanford, a career day, 4 catches, 207 yards, and 3 of those receptions were for touchdowns. Big catch right there for his offense. Have not seen a design quarterback run yet from Fitzgerald.
Harris Williams just trying to keep him honest that time as he goes for 4 yards that time. This Mississippi State offense, you see what they've done against SEC opponents this year. Obviously last week the numbers skewed heavily in their favor with what they were able to do on the ground against Texas A&M. 365 yards rushing in the upset of the Aggies. 2nd and 6. Fitzgerald pulls it and is met. A tackle for loss that time. The speedy Reuben Foster after Jonathan Allen was the first to get in.
Well, Jonathan Allen, again, discipline on the quarterback run. Jonathan Allen is going to hem him in and force him back inside. Play with discipline and trust that your linebacker is going to fill the gap next to you, and you can't do it any better than that.
And there is Derek Fitzgerald. Nick's dad made the trip in from Georgia to see his son play here at Alabama. 3rd and 7. Design quarterback run. Helmet came off Tomlinson that time as he had to get away from Fitzgerald in that happening, but Foster was there to clean it up.
Reuben Foster has had such an outstanding season as a senior, playing with a kind of a club on his left hand today, which is going to affect him in terms of being able to grab and shed blocks, but he plays so fast, and he read that play extremely quickly.
Now Weston Graves will come on with a long field goal attempt here. He's been having some ups and downs. Dan Mullen joked around in his press conference this week they was thinking about bringing in a hypnotist for Weston. This a 47-yard attempt. Career long is 48. And that didn't have a chance. So the big 40-yard reception doesn't earn them everything. Still 10-zip Bama.
I'm Adnan Burke back in our college football studios, updating you on another SEC matchup. South Carolina and Florida. This is Keontae Lewis, a 6-yard touchdown reception. The Gators up 7-0 right now. 5 minutes gone in the first. Back to Joe Tess and Todd Bladridge.
And of course, Florida can clinch the SEC East, coming up with that win and then a Tennessee loss. And right now, Kentucky's 7-7 with Tennessee.
We'll go back to this field goal attempt. It's not a good hold. The holder, Nick Tiano, doesn't get the laces turned, and Weston Graves pulls the ball right away. There was an injury last week to Logan Cook, and it set off a chain reaction that Dan Mullen was very concerned about.
Hurts extending the play and then checking down to Damian Harris, who cuts back, lowers his shoulder, and has a first down for Alabama.
I'll go back to that really quickly. The injury to Cook meant Cody Scheck-Snyder was going to be the new punter. We've already seen him with a 17-yard effort. It also changed the kickoff man. It changed the holder in the game. And 2 plays already have been affected by the injury to their all-purpose kicker, Logan Cook, a week ago in the A&M game.
Hurts quickly getting it to Sims. And Sims dragged out of bounds. Yeah, so that chain reaction of the special teams mix-up with Mississippi State.
Yeah, Logan Cook had to be replaced by 3 people because of all the things he did. He was replaced as the kickoff specialist, as the punter, and also the holder. And we've already seen a bad punt and a bad hold that have affected Mississippi State's chances. When you come in to play the #1 team in the country in their place, I mean, you have to be hitting on all cylinders in every aspect of the game, and right now the special teams a little bit of a letdown.
2nd and 4 now for Hurts and Harris in the backfield for the Tide. Hurts downfield he goes. This was well off the mark. Jamoro Graham with the easy interception, and now the big return for the Bulldogs. That was a bad mistake by Jalen Hurts. It's a Calvin Ridley finally having to get Graham down.
Well, Ardarius Stewart had his man beat, and it was just an underthrown ball by Jalen Hurts. Play action, good protection, max protection, and Ardarius Stewart is single coverage, and he has his man beat. Jalen Hurts underthrew it, threw it back to the middle, and it was a 47-yard interception return. Nice play by Graham. He had his eyes on the quarterback the whole way, but you could see Ardarius Stewart running by him, and just a miscommunication between quarterback and receiver there. And this is an area where Mississippi State has to capitalize. When Alabama makes a mistake, you have to capitalize. Very important drive right now early in the game for the Bulldogs. And you start it with a delay of game.
On the offense, number 7, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Dan Mullen coaching in his 100th game at Mississippi State.
Fred Ross is their go-to guy. He's yet to touch the football. I bet they try to get it to him on this possession.
Inside run by Eris Williams. We remind you that we have more of the 9-0 teams coming up on ABC. You're going to get number 2 Clemson and Pitt. That's a 3:30 game, and then Michigan against Iowa from Kinnick Stadium at 8 o'clock tonight on ABC. Today's a great day to get a look at all the top playoff contending teams here. And we start the day with number 1 Alabama, 2nd and 11 for Mississippi State. Fitzgerald able to get away from the pressure up the middle and just dance his way out as he's at around the 37-yard line. It'll be 3rd down from there.
Yeah, you know, unfortunately for Mississippi State, first 2 plays of this drive were pretty productive. A 4-yard run on first down, and that was a 4-yard scramble. The problem was the penalty that set him back on the delay of game brings up another 3rd down and long situation.
Third and 8. Fitzgerald downfield just beyond the reach that time of Malik Deer.
Fitzgerald just not able to get all into this throw. Dalvin Tomlinson, number 54, is going to get to him. Watch as Fitzgerald tries to step into this throw. Tomlinson right in his grill, and he's not able to get just quite enough on this ball. Receiver had a step, might have been a touchdown, but they couldn't get the throw made.
4th and 8, and they'll stay on the field. Remember, they just missed a 47-yarder. Fitzgerald with time, downfield and beyond the reach of his intended target, Donald Gray. So it'll be a turnover on downs.
Boy, and he missed a wide open receiver in the middle of the field. He was locked in on where he was going with the football, but he missed a guy crossing the middle. Watch this receiver come into the middle. His eyes are looking here the whole time. If he comes back to the other side of the field, he's got a first down easily right in the middle. And Nick Fitzgerald didn't see it. A young quarterback, still developing, still growing. He was locked in on one side that time and missed a chance for a first down completion.
Trips to the near side now for Alabama with Dieter and Stewart. They'll go inside with Josh Jacobs, the true freshman running back, one of the hidden gems in recruiting. Let's go to the field to Holly.
Well, Todd, you talked about that wide receiver who was open in the middle of the field for Mississippi State. So when Alabama's secondary came off the field, defensive coordinator Jeremy Pruitt pulled Hootie Jones aside. He's their dime defensive back, their sixth back in there. I think that was a mistake by him. He came over to the corner, left his man uncovered. It didn't hurt them there, but they're trying to fix that. Remember, without Eddie Jackson in that back end, they've had to move some people around.
Wide receiver screen this time to Ridley. But good job defensively by Brandon Bryant, who's a freak of an athlete, runs a sub 4.340.
A lot of young guys on this Mississippi State defense. They're playing a lot of people. Peter Sirmon, the new defensive coordinator in his first year. Terrell Buckley, actually the secondary coach, former great player at Florida State.
Third down throw to O.J. Howard, but he can't break free for that line to make as Jamoro Graham made the tackle. Remember, he had the interception moments ago.
Peter Sirmon was a great player himself, 4 years starting linebacker at Oregon. Coached at Washington, coached at USC with Steve Sarkisian, who is an assistant consultant type coach here at Alabama now.
Superbly talented J.K. Scott, who leads the SEC in punting average on for the Tide. And he skies this one all the way to the 3-yard line, but it bounces in for the touchback. Well, it is a tough road ahead for Nick Fitzgerald and this Mississippi State offense, but their next go at it comes up next. Today's Aflac trivia question. Nick Fitzgerald here at Mississippi State has rushed for 100+ yards in his last 3 games. Todd, we're wondering who was the last quarterback to rush for over 100 yards against Alabama in a regular season game. And a big day last week did the Bulldogs quarterback against A&M. Haven't been many in the last 20 years to pass for over 200 yards and rush for over 175 yards in a game. Manziel and Cam Newton, the only other SEC quarterbacks in the last 20 years to do so.
Coach Fitzgerald replacing Dak Prescott, who is proven what caliber of a player he is right now at the next level with the Dallas Cowboys.
He's going to struggle with Tim Williams and that level of athleticism.
Playing with discipline. Tim Williams is right here. He's responsible for the edge, for setting the edge of the defense. And that means either the quarterback or the running back. And another negative yardage play for this Alabama defense.
Second and 13 as he pulls it and struggles to get back to the original line of scrimmage. Now, you mentioned Dak Prescott before. Here's the comparison in their first 9 starts.
Very similar type numbers. The rushing for Nick Fitzgerald has been outstanding this season.
Of course, Dak went on to become the school record holder in touchdowns responsible for and most career passing yards.
That's the end of the first quarter.
A first quarter that looks like many Bama quarters with a dominating defense and a good enough offense. Jalen Hurts had the lone strike to Calvin Ridley, and the #1 Tide is rolling. Joe, Todd, and Holly with you. Moments ago, we asked who was the last quarterback to rush for over 100 yards against Alabama in a regular season game. Got to go all the way back to Archie, 1969.
Yeah. 104 yards. Alan Lowry of Texas did it in the '73 Cotton Bowl, but not in the regular season.
And this guy, Nick Fitzgerald, has rushed for -8 against them. But he slings a good ball over the middle to Fred Ross, and what a career Fred Ross has had for Mississippi State as he earns them a first down.
Well, this is a matchup that favors Mississippi State. Ross going against the young safety Ronnie Harrison, your best wide receiver, not on a cornerback in that formation, but on a safety, and a big third down conversion.
Gonna run speed option to the left. There's the pitch to Shumpert, and tracking right down the line is Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, this defense is very fast. The biggest change in this Alabama defense in the last few years under Nick Saban, even in some of their earlier championship seasons, is the speed they have on the field. The way they've learned that they've had to play against teams like Texas A&M in their league, Ole Miss, they had to get faster. Their linebackers are a little smaller and faster. And this is, as Nick Saban told us yesterday, maybe the most athletic defense that he's ever had here at Alabama.
And you can see they're dealing with a crooked stick there on the chain gang. Treated that thing like a pipe cleaner, and we're good to go.
Yeah.
Except for the fact it's got the wrong down.
Better that was the stick and not his leg over there.
That wouldn't be good. 2nd and 12 now. And they'll keep it with Eris Williams, and he is denied. Only a yard there. They only have 3 yards rushing on the day so far.
One of the biggest areas statistically that differentiates the Alabama defense the last 2 years is their sack numbers. Last year they led the nation with 53. Right now they're on pace, a better pace, averaging 4.1 a game. Last year when these two teams played in Starkville, Alabama sacked Dak Prescott 9 times.
Third and 11. Sprint one way, throw back the other to Fred Ross, and he was met by Anthony Averett.
It's just hard to make a living on 3rd and long against this defense. Their speed, their ability to rush the passer. Mississippi State has to get more efficient and more effective on early downs. Good open field tackle by Averett. Another punt situation for the true freshman, Schexnayder.
Schexnayder with just a 17-yard punt his first time out there. Trayvon Diggs back to return. And this one umbrellas on him, meaning it's going to come straight down, not turning over as he hauls it in at the 33-yard line. Adnan, what's up?
Well, Tess, want to let you know this LL Bean studio update. We've got Trace McSorley here for Penn State taking on Indiana. McSorley on 3rd and goal, scampering into the end zone. Number 10 team in the country right now has the lead 7-0. It's over on ESPN2. Tess, back to you.
So interesting to look at your alma mater and see a number 10 next to their name.
Yeah, they're really, offensively, they're really playing well here the last several weeks. Saquon Barkley, if you don't know about him, he's as good a running back as there is in college football, and he's on a real tear the last 4 weeks, averaging over 165 yards a game.
Todd, the thing I marvel at with Barkley, a lot of good players, a lot of good productive players. Athletically, what he's capable of doing athletically is unlike others.
He's a monster in the weight room, very similar to some of the running backs that have come through this place, Alabama.
Hurts on 1st down. As that's incomplete, he was looking for Stewart. This is one of those days we thought we'd be seeing more of the development of Jalen Hurts. Nick Saban saying, you know, when quarterbacks can make running plays, it's hard to get them to develop as passers. But it's always good when you have this. Ardarius Stewart. Hello, end zone.
Well, they open the game with this play for a modest gain. They run back towards O.J. Anderson and Cam Robinson, their left tackle, and Ardarius Stewart, once he gets his shoulders upfield, too much speed for the Mississippi State defense. kind of got caught flat-footed on that play. And Ardarius Stewart, they want to get those three guys the football. That's twice they've handed it to Ardarius Stewart, and that time for a touchdown.
A 67-yard touchdown, Ardarius Stewart. We talked about some of the big stars getting bigger plays today. Well, there's one right there from the junior receiver. The SEC's top-scoring offense with a blimp-worthy play brought to you by Goodyear.
Well, it starts with a beautiful block by O.J. Howard. He stuck around as a senior to develop his overall game. Watch this cut block, the key block in the play for Ardarius Stewart's touchdown. You may call that a good block. I call it blimp-worthy. And Ardarius Stewart into the end zone.
You've decreed it blimp-worthy?
Yes, I've deemed it blimp-worthy.
Do you have wax with then a ring that you seal that in with? Here's Holloway at the advantage of the shorter kick. And Holloway weaves his way through, goes right past Griffith, and is finally taken down past midfield.
Mississippi State has had a couple opportunities with field position after the interception, and now after this 50-yard kickoff return. Nice little dancing and weaving by Holloway. That's a starting cornerback on kickoff coverage for Alabama, Anthony Averett, who makes the touchdown-saving tackle. So far, Mississippi State has been unable to take advantage of the field position.
Remember, they had the interception return earlier as well, and they didn't score off of that. Fitzgerald on the slant into the hands of Fred Ross. Well, we invite you to kick off your NFL Sunday with ESPN. You got Insiders, the Sunday edition at 10 a.m., then 11 a.m. Sunday NFL Countdown, and Monday Night Football. How about some LSU and Georgia receivers going at it? A.J. Green and Odell Beckham. Bengals, Giants, 8:15 Eastern on ESPN Monday Night Football.
See, first and second down is so critical for Mississippi State to be productive, because as long as they're third down and 5 or less, all of their quarterback run package on third down becomes effective and a threat. When it gets beyond 7-8 yards, you kind of lose that dimension to your offense.
Fitzgerald on first down, and he threw it to the outside of Mixon. Holly?
Well, the one reason you don't want to get to third down is Tim Williams is usually on the field for Alabama causing havoc, but he has been out for the last few plays, including that last first down conversion because of an injury. They've seen him in the injury tent. They're not telling us what it is, but I'll keep my eye on Tim Williams on the sideline. He does have his helmet on and look like he could return. Such
a disruptive pass rusher for the Tide. So Holly is on top of that, as it is 2nd and 10 for Fitzgerald and the Bulldogs.
Oh, he had the tight end.
And well covered that time was Ross. Adnan, what's up?
Well, Tess, I want to tell you what's happening with Oklahoma right now. They're facing Baylor, and it's all Sooners here. D.D. Westbrook, 29-yard touchdown. It's his 7th straight game with a touchdown. That's the longest streak currently in the FBS. He's been great for them. 21-0 over on ABC and ESPN2. Early second, Joe.
So Baker Mayfield off to a very good start against that challenged Baylor defense.
Now Williams back on the field and another 3rd and 10. Fitzgerald missed a chance at Farrod Green on that second down play. Might have been a touchdown.
Offensive line held up, giving him a chance to throw downfield, but it was incomplete as he was trying to find Johnson.
See, you just can't miss opportunities against this Alabama defense. Farrod Brown, the tight end here, is going to run right down the middle, and he's going to be open, but Nick Fitzgerald Fitzgerald is looking to his left only, and he's thrown against tight coverage. He misses the tight end in what would have been a big play and put him into the red zone.
It's the second time we've seen them on 4th down going for it in this no man's land just beyond the range of Weston Graves. Who already missed a 47-yarder.
The problem with it being 4th and 10, though, again, is that the quarterback run dimension, which has been so big for their offense, is not as effective.
4th and 10. Wants it all. Off the hands of Ross. Incomplete. They turn it over on downs again.
This was a good throw. I mean, this is one you have to drop in a bucket between the corner and the safety. And there's space and a beautiful throw. And I just think Fred Ross felt the safety, Hootie Jones, coming over and took his eyes off the football. You can't throw it any better, and you could see the headgear and the eyes of Fred Ross move at the last minute.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Chick-fil-A. We didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich. And the new Volkswagen Golf All-Track, soon to be everywhere.
21 straight wins for Alabama, the longest win streak in major college football, and a 17-0 lead for the #1 tie.
Even though he's thrown the one interception, I think Lane Kiffin has to be happy with Jalen Hurts, 11 for 14 in the ball game.
Here he passes on 1st down and gets it complete to Stewart, who is free again. Remember, he had the 67-yard touchdown moments ago.
That was actually a reception because it was a little touch pass on the jet sweep. So a great start for Ardarius Stewart. Excellent protection on 1st down. They keep the tight end and the back end. And he finds Stewart on the deep crossing route.
35 yards there. So Stewart's up to 118 on the day. The pitch to Josh Jacobs. And a good block being set. He was running along with Ardarius Stewart for a while before contact was even made.
Last week in Baton Rouge was the first game that Jalen Hurts was under 60% completion. He made a few mistakes that you would expect a true freshman to make that he had not made up to that point. Of course, that environment is loud, as hostile as any in college football. And he is off to a very efficient game tonight throwing the football.
Here's another 1st down throw as he checks down to Jacobs. And Jacobs makes one move, a second, inside the 10, and it'll be 1st and goal tie.
The thing about this guy, Jacobs, he has the ability to make people miss and to make open field tacklers look silly. He makes about 3 cuts here and eludes would-be tacklers. That's his trademark.
Quickly to the line. Hurts trying to get to the corner, and he does. Garrett Dieter paved the way. Jalen Hurts got the corner, and his 11th rushing touchdown of the year.
Good decision by Jalen Hurts. He had 2 eligible receivers out there. They were both covered, and Jalen Hurts made the right decision. And again, this offensive game plan today to develop Jalen Hurts in the passing game, to get O.J. Howard, to get Ardarius Stewart, Calvin Ridley involved, has worked to perfection so far in the 1st half.
So a 4-yard touchdown run by the true freshman, who rarely ever looks or plays like one. #1, 24-0. Glad you're with us watching Dr. Pepper's Championship Drive Game of the Week. Joe Tessitore, Tom Blackledge, Holly Rowe and the crew here in T-Town, where Jalen Hurts has 2 touchdown passes and just ran for a score.
This offense had 0 points starting the 4th quarter a week ago. at LSU. 24 points in the first half today.
Let's go to the studio to Adnan.
All right, Tess, another update once again. It's over on the SEC Network. It's Tennessee and Kentucky from Knoxville. Josh Dobbs here, the 35-yard keeper. He'd be out at the one, but he would punch it in right after that. 5th game for Dobbs with a passing and rushing touchdown. They're up by 4, early second, Joe.
In a game that will greatly impact the SEC East race. Of course, Kentucky with 4 wins in conference already this year. And Florida could find themselves in Atlanta, confirmed as early as today. If Kentucky can pull it off against Tennessee and Florida can come up with a win. Big hole here for the Bulldogs. As Fitzgerald just trying to find anything there. Not bad effort to get his way towards the 30. Reminder that the alternate angle Skycam coverage of this game streaming live on Watch ESPN. That is brought to you by Microsoft Cloud. Second and 5, Williams, as he will have a first down. Earlier today, Todd, when we started off our day of coverage, I asked you, is there a recipe for a Bama letdown? You gave a very thoughtful answer as to what could conspire against them.
Well, there were some factors going against them. The early start, the coming off of the LSU game. But Nick Saban is as good as there is as far as fighting complacency with his team. And I think there's other factors besides just him that I'll get into a little bit after this play.
Quarterback run. And that goes nowhere with Hamilton tracking.
This team, Alabama, has great leadership. Guys like Jonathan Allen, guys like Reuben Foster, guys like Ryan Anderson that have really got this team on point and on a mission. I think another thing is I have not seen, there's in vogue now for teams to practice light on Thursday and speed it up on Friday. No team in America practices harder on Thursday than Alabama. I mean, they are getting after it. And then even their pregame warm-up, down in that corner of the end zone when the offensive and defensive linemen go against each other, it is a man's game down there.
Here's a crossing route to Green. Holly, we've been at so many Thursday practices that are glorified walkthroughs. This is the other end of the spectrum down here in Tuscaloosa, isn't it?
No, there's no walkthrough speed for this Alabama team. In fact, they're full speed. I was really impressed. Jonathan Allen really got into it with some of the younger players. Maybe a little bit of a fight, you could call it. He didn't like how one of his juniors was talking to the younger players and said, "That's not how we do it around here." He got that straightened out pretty well.
It was a run for a first down that time from Eris Williams. There's so many seniors that decided to stick around and not go cash those paychecks, Todd.
Well, we always talk about Alabama's recruiting, and their recruiting lists are always right at the top. But Nick Saban's best recruiting job this year might have been those guys sticking around for another year and a chance to repeat as national champions.
Sean Robinson hanging with his former teammates today. His defensive line is something awesome. And the Bulldogs trying to work their way past midfield.
They're running the football.
With Williams.
Yeah, getting some running success on this possession. And once again, pretty good field position. It's just so important to have effective plays on first and second down to give yourself a chance on third down. Eris Williams with a career high 140 yards last week in the big win over A&M. Just a different deal running against this Alabama team.
2nd and 7 now. There's Williams again, and that time he is thrown back by Payne and Allen right at the line of scrimmage.
Alabama with a little bit of an adjustment on that play. Normally they like to try to keep 2 safeties back and defend your run with 6 interior defenders. Mississippi State with a little bit of success. They brought an extra safety down into the box and bring up a 3rd down play here.
You know the success that they've had in their last 3 games, but look at what Mississippi State has only been able to get today against Bama. As Ryan Anderson and the Tide put that hand in the ground on 3rd and 5. Fitzgerald, little high, looking for Fred Ross, but good coverage again by Averett.
Pressure bearing down on him as he turned to throw too. It's Ryan Anderson, number 22, right up in the face. That might have had an effect on that throw being high, intended for Fred Ross. And we've seen Dan Mullen go for it twice on 4th down, but this is a definite punt situation.
As Diggs will put his heels on the 10 for the Scheck-Snyder punt. Calls for the fair catch at the 17. 5:20 to play here in the first half. Bama on top by 24. Well, those teams lined up to potentially play in the college football playoff in action today. And number 2, Clemson will go up against Pitt. Michigan and Iowa. Iowa's won 4 of the last 5. Todd, this is going to be a good one out west. Rejuvenated USC team against Washington, and Ohio State will be taking on Maryland at 3:30 right after we finish business here in Tuscaloosa. But that USC-Washington game, we've been with both teams this year. What's your take?
Well, I tell you what, I think Washington is a little bit of the better team. They're playing at home, but Sam Darnold at quarterback has made USC a different football team. 2 of the best quarterbacks in college football facing off tonight up in Seattle.
Here's Hurts again on 1st down to pass the balls. He shakes free. He's got such wiggle and then tracked down from behind. In terms of the remaining schedules of those playoff contenders, obviously Michigan has the big showdown at the end of the year with Ohio State, and the Iron Bowl is becoming a big one as well.
I think Washington has the toughest of those 4 remaining. Washington State playing really well. That's a big rivalry game, the Apple Cup. And again, of course, the game against a rejuvenated USC team today.
And Clemson without a ranked opponent in the regular season, and then we will see who they match up with in the ACC, but clearly the easier path. 2nd and 9 now as he fakes the pitch, does Hurts, and takes it straight ahead to the 24.
Talking about Washington and their quarterback, Jake Browning, playing so well this year, putting up Heisman type numbers. High school teammate of him, ironically, is the starting right tackle, Jonah Williams, number 73 for Alabama, a true freshman out of Folsom, California.
3rd down run by Hurts, and he may break it all the way. Can they track him? Yes. Pushed out of bounds. Jalen Hurts, so dangerous once he gets to that 2nd level.
Well, we saw another block by O.J. Howard and Cam Robinson, the left tackle and the tight end on this 61-yard run. Lead block by the tailback as well, Damian Harris. And they know what they have in Jalen Hurts as a runner. What they wanted to do was get him off to a good start as a passer today, and they've done that.
Here's O.J. Howard as he couldn't escape free that time. It was Des Harris with the tackle.
Again, last week in Baton Rouge, the combination of Ridley, Stewart, and Howard, only 6 catches and 75 yards worth of receptions. And in the first half tonight, already 117 yards combined. Or that's just Stewart, 117. Well beyond where they were a week ago in Baton Rouge.
2nd and 12. Hurts as he gets it to Forrestall, and he is wrestled down near the 10-yard line by Leo Lewis, who's a very active 1st-year linebacker for the Bulldogs. So It'll be 3rd and 4 with Alabama looking for more. That was batted down at the line of scrimmage. Looked like Nick James at 6'5" was able to get in that passing path.
Yeah, because he had Ridley in the end zone for a touchdown on the slant. His eyes were right on him, and James able to get that left hand on the football. Ridley was open, and it would have been a touchdown. Nice play by Nick James.
So it'll be about a 28-yard attempt for Adam Griffith, who already made from 30 yards earlier today. That was a low line drive for the 49th career field goal for Adam Griffith. Time now for AT&T Inside Access.
I know so many of us were thinking about the great veterans in our country, and we are so grateful for them, but I met a very special young lady here at Alabama this week. Mary Lillian Sanders is a gymnast for the wonderful Crimson Tide gymnastics team, but in her spare time, she is balancing being a Marine officer training candidate. She has fulfilled a 6-week course already at Quantico. She will continue that training while she's here competing in the SEC as a gymnast. She filled in on the balance beam last year in the SEC Gymnastics Championship. Just want you to think about that, guys, going through Marine Corps officer training and working on the balance beam, and what a special young lady this is who will soon be serving our country.
Holly, we were thrilled. Todd and I joined you going to Alabama gymnastics practice yesterday. What a thrill it is to see how she competes, how that team gets ready. Amazing display of athleticism.
There are no finer athletes or more powerful athletes in any sport on any campus in America.
Let's go to the studio to Adnan.
All right, Joe, thank you very much. Coming up on the Lexus Halftime Report, an update what's happening in that SEC East, including the Florida Gators. Also, right now, the Sooners are rolling. An update from the Big 12 and a look ahead to USC and Washington as Danny Kanell and Joey Galloway will break it down. Joe, back to you.
Looking forward to that, hearing what the guys have to say about that USC team that we were able to broadcast last week. And Sam Darnold is a special player. Look at the Mississippi State offense today. Their first 6 drives, the missed opportunities, the 3 punts. Alabama hasn't given up a single point now in the last 114 minutes and 31 seconds. Fitzgerald with time. And off the hands of Ross. Ross is not having a good start to his day, and he has had such a fine career. Our aerial coverage is brought to you by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV.
We've talked so much about this defense this season. Their ability to lock you down, rush the passer, leading the nation in sacks. 9 defensive touchdowns they've scored. That also leads the nation. Best in the country at stopping the run.
Here's Fitzgerald. Good arm downfield, and that was denied as he put it right into the pocket of Donald Gray. But number 28, Averett with coverage again.
We've seen Averett make a couple plays like this. Nice job. He's in position. The receiver has some space. It's a good throw, but Averett just makes a better play. Good vision on the football and gets his hands in there to knock it away from Gray. Mississippi State 3 of 9 on 3rd down, and most of those have been like this, 3rd and 10.
Nick Fitzgerald started the day 5 of 9 passing. He's 1 of 8 since, and now a 3rd and 10. Not where you want to be against Bama.
Dan Mullen wants a timeout. Nick Fitzgerald trying to change the play at the line of scrimmage. Play clock was running down.
Before the play clock went to 0, timeout, Mississippi State. That's a 30-second timeout.
Dan Mullen has worked with a lot of good quarterbacks in his career and the different stops along his coaching career. Of course, he was with Alex Smith at Utah when he was on Urban Meyer's staff there. Tim Tebow at Florida. Of course, Dak Prescott he had most recently
He's got a pretty good former quarterback who's now on his staff, helping out with play calling, and Brian Johnson, who was the MVP of the Sugar Bowl for Utah in beating Alabama.
That's right. Third year for Brian on Dan's staff.
Let's go to Holly.
Well, I was having some fun with Dan Mullen and Brian Johnson, who I covered when I was working out in Utah before the game. And Dan Mullen said, Brian has been talking so much junk to these quarterbacks all week in practice. Like, hey, I beat Alabama. Now it's just up to you guys. A lot of smack talk this week.
Easier said than done, and just a touch easier back in 2008. Fitzgerald over middle, incomplete again. Well, here's how it went down after that 08 season, the 2009 Sugar Bowl. Then number 6 Utah against then number 4 Alabama. And Toddy threw for 336 yards and 3 touchdowns in being the game's MVP. Utah had that convincing 31-17 win. Back when it was still a prove it, little guy against big guy exchange there with Utah and Alabama.
Utah was clearly the better team on the field that day.
And yet another 3 and out. Alabama leads the nation in defensive 3 and outs as Diggs is corralled. Of course, on a day like today, we remind you that every game is live on the ESPN app and Watch ESPN. You can download the app, visit watchespn.com.
You mentioned Alabama leading the nation in 3 and outs. I think it's interesting, the top 3 teams in that category defensively. Alabama number 1, Michigan number 2, Clemson number 3.
Doesn't happen by accident, does it? When you look at defensive success and the rankings. There they are. Bama, Michigan, Clemson leading the nation in 3 and outs defensively. Here's Jacobs on the pitch, and a good job down the line that time by Richie Brown, who's coming off an 8-tackle effort against Texas A&M.
Richie Brown's played a lot of ball here at Mississippi State. Also one of the semifinalists for the Campbell Trophy, considered the Academic Heisman Award presented by the National Football Foundation. Great honor for that young man.
Richie, the only guy on the team who's married a former Mississippi State softball player, Aaron Brown, who now works on campus. 2nd and 9, and another good tackle that time. That was Torrey Dale.
Mississippi State, a lot of new starters this year, playing a lot of freshmen, rich and true freshmen. Of course, coming off a 2-year run that was about as successful as they've ever had at Mississippi State. Kind of in a rebuilding mode this year, no doubt.
3rd and 12 with the flag down. Hurts will go downfield, and that'll fall incomplete off the hands of Stewart.
Tough break against Mississippi State there. They force a 3rd and 10.
Offside on the defense, number 16, 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Jonathan Calvin, their best perimeter pass rusher. Problem on that one is he didn't even try to get back on his side of the ball. He jumped off, knew he was offside, just kind of stayed there as the ball was snapped.
At least he's committed, Todd.
All in.
So a 3rd and 5 after the penalty. As Jacobs motions out, and Hurts will get it to him, and let's see if he can get the first down, and he does with ease, still fighting his way past midfield, finally brought down by Gray.
Nice job by Jalen Hurts distributing the football throughout this whole first half. We've seen him hit the tight end, his 2 receivers, backs coming out of the backfield. A lot of safe passes, but accurate throws by Jalen Hurts.
Hurts with plenty of time downfield, looking for Howard. And just beyond the reach of the 6'6" athletic O.J. Howard.
Well, that gives you an indication of why NFL guys like O.J. Howard is because of his speed. He's the inside slot guy. He's a 6'5" tight end, but he has wide receiver type speed. Just couldn't quite catch up to that one. Thought about leaving a year early. Made a smart decision, I think, to stay and become a more well-rounded player, a better blocker at the point of attack.
Hurts on second down. Forrestall, and he was forced out that time by Bryant. And there's another good-looking big target for Hurts.
Part of the reason we're seeing such a commitment to the passing game in the first half, even though they've got the big lead now, is Lane Kiffin and Nick Saban know we're going to sooner or later run into a team that is going to score, and we're going to have to be a little bit more diverse on offense. We're not going to be able to count on our defense to shut somebody out every week.
There's a reception by Stewart on 3rd and 3. That'll move the chains. Darius Stewart is having a very big first half. A little bit of tempo now here as we come to the final half minute of this first half. And Forrestall again the target for Hurts.
The other things that I think has been a little bit unusual this season, as you look at Alabama's schedule and the teams they've played, this is not a particularly great year for defenses in the SEC.
No, it isn't.
The way it's been in other years. And they've really only played one, what I would consider an elite defense, and that was last week against LSU, and they were exposed in some ways offensively down in Baton Rouge. So they've been able to develop their young quarterback, but they haven't played many great defenses. And I think the next elite type defense they'll face will be in the Iron Bowl. That defensive line for Auburn is an elite level defensive line. And I think that's why they're kind of preparing and working towards what they might face down the road in that game and beyond, in trying to expand their offense a little bit here today.
I think that's a really good point. And I think Lane Kiffin was very honest in his assessment as to where he feels his offense is, and looking around at the realities of what this league has been this year. 3rd and 6, under 25 seconds to play here in the first half. 3 timeouts remaining as Hurts runs and picks up the first down, which will give us a temporary stoppage close to the 20-yard line.
Alabama uses their first timeout.
Alabama. That's a 30-second timeout.
Well, they wanted to come into the game and get Jalen Hurts in the passing game off to a good start and get the ball in the hands of their dynamic playmakers. This was the first possession of the game. They got it to Stewart twice. They got it to Howard. And then the play action to try to get Calvin Ridley involved. Gets to the middle of the field. Good job by Jalen Hurts. He's shown poise and composure all year, and they got exactly out of this first half what they wanted with him throwing the football.
Player Spotlight is brought to you by America's Navy. Completion percentage 62% coming in, nearly 77% today. And you see the emphasis on the passing game of Jalen Hurts. You know, that tap pass that goes to Stewart helps pump up those stats, but nonetheless, it's in there.
I'll tell you what, I wish we'd have had that in the offense when I played. That's the easiest completion a quarterback can make. It's about a half-a-yard throw, and Stewart took one of them 67 yards for a touchdown.
You can see how he's been spreading it out, trying to get some work to O.J. Howard. Even Miller Forrestall, the freshman tight end, getting involved. But Darius Stewart has been the big target of the day. 126 yards and a touchdown reception.
See, I think the other thing about this is the better the Alabama passing game becomes, the better their running game will be. This is not a dominant offensive line that Alabama has that's going to be able to just control the line of scrimmage and run the ball at will. Their quarterback run game has been probably the most effective part. But the better their pass game gets and the more they make people spread out and cover, the better their run game will be as well.
Let's see how he manages these final 13 seconds.
Good decision there. Throw it away. Wasn't there. Good coverage downfield by the Bulldogs, who are just kind of holding on here at the end of the first half.
9 seconds left. Ball on the 21-yard line. The 2 timeouts remain as Nick Saban talks things over with the head linesman there.
If you throw it quickly, you've got time for 2 plays here. You can't hang on to it. If you do that, you may only have 1 play before you have to kick a field goal.
There's the luxury of the timeouts. To the end zone they go, and that will leave 4 seconds on the clock. And with that comes Adam Griffith.
Zone coverage that time by Mississippi State, trying to force Hurts to make the throw from the pocket and threw the ball high.
39-yard attempt for Adam Griffith. As he has himself a 3-for-3 first half. And Bama has themselves a 30-0 lead at the break. Hurts with 2 passing, 1 running, and a big lead. Let's go to Adnan in the studio.
This halftime report is presented by Lexus.
It has been all Alabama. Jalen Hurts to play action here. Crimson Tide up 30-0. Wondering what the head coach thinks? Nick Saban with a highlight run.
Well, Coach Saban, you talked about wanting to develop your young quarterback as a passer, not have him run so much. How do you assess how he's done that in the first half?
Well, I think we've had a lot better balance on offense. I think he's played well. He prepared well this week. I think he's got a good understanding of what they're doing and done a nice job with it. I like the balance that we have on offense. Put the defense in a couple bad situations, but they came through. So you've got to play for 60 minutes against guys like these. These guys can score a lot of points.
I was going to ask you about that. You know, you were worried about this early start, about a team being complacent. So how do you get them motivated for a second half when it's a big score like this?
Well, I think you play to a standard, and I think that's what our guys have to understand, and we need to keep playing, and hopefully, you know, if we keep playing fast on offense, we can wear them down a little bit. They get the ball first, so, you know, we need to stop them on defense.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Tim Williams with his 8th sack of the year. And Calvin Ridley with the touchdown. Darius Stewart. Hello, end zone. Hurts trying to get to the corner, and he does.
Welcome back. Dr. Pepper Championship Drive Game of the Week.
And that championship drive game of the week is the 45th career game in the career of Nick Saban, coaching the #1 team in the country that ties Woody Hayes and Bobby Bowden. And they're acting like the #1 team in the country, up 30-0. Our Darius Stewart 126 yards receiving in that first half.
Well, we talked to Lane Kiffin yesterday. He says, we're not going to run the quarterback as much. We want to throw the football. We want to develop the passing game. Jalen Hurts threw it 28 times in the first half. The most he's thrown it in a game this year was 36 for the whole game against Western Kentucky. So I think they accomplished what they wanted. He completed 20 passes, spread the ball around. They made some of their playmakers happy. And then that defense now, 6 quarters in a row, they haven't given up a point. They've given up a total of 230 yards of offense. So a stifling, dominating defense again.
It'll be interesting to see if they get another shutout here today. Let's get a report from Holly.
Well, Dan Mullen said that if they had 0 drops and 0 missed tackles, this game might be a little bit different story right now. He said we have to win those one-on-one battles on the outside with our wide receivers, and at times they have, but 5 drops have stymied them in their offense. He also said, hey, look, in the second half, I just want to see some effort from my guys.
I agree with the drops, but the defense is superb.
Well, they don't make very many mistakes, and the one thing they did in this game, they knew Nick Fitzgerald was a running quarterback. Reuben Foster with the spy, eyes right on him. They contain him, and then Mississippi State, a lot of 3rd and long situations, plays right into this sack-happy Alabama defense. Tim Williams leading the charge. Mississippi State was 3 of 10 in the first half on third downs, and most of those were long yardage situations.
And the numbers on the season are ridiculous. Today they're even better. Keep in mind this Mississippi State team rushed for 365 yards last week against then number 4 Texas A&M. Fitzgerald, you know, we talked about it. You get the play call there, so you get the flag coming down. But we talked about it at the break of halftime. I think Mississippi State, you just got to buy these little lottery tickets every so often. Try to go over the top.
Well, you have to. I think that's an important way you have to try to attack Alabama.
Defense, number 15, 15-yard penalty. First down.
Speaking of attacking Alabama, a little later on, Todd, and you went to work this week. We asked you the question, Todd, how do you beat Alabama, and who's capable of doing it? So, folks, I invite you to stick around. A little later, Todd is going to show you on film some examples of how it is you could possibly topple mighty Bama.
Yeah, I'm glad you said possibly.
Possibly. And which of the playoff contenders would be equipped and have those traits and characteristics to do it, as Eris Williams gets the call for 2.5 yards. Look at the similarity. Last week against LSU, they only gave up 125 total yards. Today, 108. Remember, there was that 40-plus yard pass play that Mississippi State had. 2nd and 8. Fitzgerald, a little high on the slant, but Gray did a good job of securing it and going past midfield for the first down.
You know, when you run this kind of a route, you know you're going to take a hit. And Gray is not shy going up in the air for the ball. He knows the hit's coming. He secures the catch, and he's able to even spin and fight forward for another first down.
Former JUCO All-America, now his 2nd year with the Bulldogs, Donald Gray. First down pass from Fitzgerald, and that is complete to Gray again. So this is a good start to the second half for the Bulldogs.
You have to challenge Alabama down the field. 25-yard completion. You got to go after these corners and make them make plays. I think sometimes the corners, you know, they get to take a little bit of a break because the pass rush is so good. But if you give protection to the quarterback, you have to challenge Alabama down the field.
Williams tried to squeeze through that hole. Tony Brown was there to find him.
This Mississippi State offensive coaching staff has been together for a long time with Dan Mullen. John Hevesy, the offensive line coach. Billy Gonzalez, the wide receiver coach. They've been with him at multiple places. Of course, we already mentioned Brian Johnson was a player at Utah when they were all together there on the staff.
2nd and 6. Holloway motions out. Fitzgerald gets absolutely leveled by Ryan Anderson.
Can't hold the ball this long. I mean, he should have learned this on the first possession. Look how low he is. Sprinter stance, great jump off the ball, uses his leverage to get into Justin Senior, the right tackle. You just can't hold the football a long time in passing situations against this defense. Alabama can get to the quarterback with a 4-man rush exceptionally well.
Backs him up to a 3rd and 16. Here he comes again, steps up in the pocket, downfield, and that ball was batted away by Hootie Jones.
That's a good job and a good example of a safety helping the corner. Corner's locked up in man-to-man, and the safety's coming over to help. The corner is looking at the receiver. The safety is looking at the quarterback, and Hootie Jones is able to help his teammate and come over and make a play over the top and knock that ball away.
They're going to come on for a field goal attempt here. 47-yard attempt. Remember, he missed earlier when the new holder served laces to Weston Graves. And right down the target line goes Graves. So the Bulldogs break through. They are on the board. A smile from Dan Mullen. Well, everybody, including Bully, wonders how can you beat them, Todd? How do you possibly beat Bama?
Well, I think you've got to have certain ingredients as a team. First of all, defensively, you got to have corners and safeties who can play man-to-man coverage. You got to play tight coverage on their wide receivers and make the quarterback make difficult throws. The other thing you can do, if you can play zero coverage, you can free up a safety type, none better than Jabril Peppers of Michigan, to just be attached to the quarterback. Wherever Jalen Hurts goes, you got to have a guy that can contain him, because his biggest plays occur when he gets outside of the pocket.
We've seen that all year long as this is kicked out of bounds. So that would be the defensive scheme. And Hurts already has 89 yards rushing today. When you talk about putting a spy on him, what about the other side?
Well,
How
first
you
of
beat
all,
Bama?
if you don't have a quarterback that has NFL talent, he better be a dual threat guy that can affect the Alabama defense with his legs. Last year in the championship game, Clemson had both. Playmaking wide receivers. You've got to take shots, at least one deep shot a quarter down the field, and you got to have guys that can make one-on-one plays, and then you better have an offensive line that is functional, physical, and has a bit of nasty to deal with this front seven, and they've got to do it for 60 minutes.
All right, so here are the top playoff contenders along with Bama, based on what you said.
Well,
Who stacks up?
Yeah, you look at Clemson. They hit 3 of them. That spy for Hurts, I'm not sure. I've not studied them as much as the other teams, so I don't know on the offensive line or that spy for Hurts.
Well, here is Hurts, who has far too much time to throw if you're a Mississippi State backer. All right, so that's how Clemson stacks up, according to what you say. Now, what about Harbaugh's Wolverines?
Michigan can play man. They've got Jabril Peppers. They don't have the dual threat quarterback. They do have receivers. I'm not sure on their offensive line. You're going to see I have a question mark on all 3 offensive lines, because I don't know if any of them are capable of going 60 minutes against this defensive front of Alabama.
I think you've done a really thorough examination of what it would take, as they go with the tap pass again to Stewart. Remember, he went for 67 yards earlier, this time a tackle for loss. Now Washington playing USC tonight. How do they stack up according to what you put forth?
Very similar to Michigan in the sense that they don't have the dual threat quarterback. Now Jake Browning is playing lights out, and he plays with great anticipation and throws with great accuracy, but he doesn't pose that running threat. And again, that question mark along the bottom line, I think that's the #1 ingredient to beat Alabama. You better have an offensive line that has no weak links and is able to play physically for 60 minutes.
3rd and 15. Here's O.J. Howard past midfield, as it's another first down for Alabama. I think that was interesting, Todd, because what you see is undoubtedly a confirmation that they have a distinct advantage over anybody they could face in the postseason. Of course, they're going to be facing a great defensive line at the end of this regular season with Auburn. Calvin Ridley now trying to work his way in. You know, the dual threat quarterback component, we saw it on the field of what Deshaun Watson looks like against Alabama. Jake Browning doesn't have the same physical attributes, but boy, is he talented.
He's very talented, and they're a different type of offense. They're going to spread you out. They've got playmaking receivers. I just think that guy who can run against this defense poses a real problem, potentially.
You mentioned put a spy on Jalen Hurts. It's situations like that where you would have to track him, and Mississippi State does.
The reason it's so important, if you're playing Alabama, to have guys in your secondary that can play man coverage and zero coverage, which means there's no free safety help. They just lock up man-to-man. That can allow you to take that free safety, put him right in the middle of the field opposite the quarterback, and say wherever he goes, you go. And your job, if he leaves the pocket, is to get him on the ground.
3rd and 11. As Garrett Dieter tries to reach out. Holly?
Well, after that last big reception, Alabama's tight end, O.J. Howard, limped over to the sideline. He has been seen to by athletic trainers. They are retaping his right ankle. Boy, they do not want to lose him after they've just got him so involved today.
Here's 4th down as they're going to run Hurts, and with the ball comes loose. The ball comes loose, and Mississippi State, Mark McLaurin comes up with it. They go for it on 4th down, and Hurts turns it over.
They went for it on 4th. They went with a hurry-up count. They tried to catch Mississippi State before they were set up. Jalen Hurts, he fumbled in the 3rd quarter last week after a sack against LSU. This time, poor ball security and a wasted scoring opportunity for the Tide. Big play, Mississippi State defense.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Ford. We go further so you can. And Verizon. Join a better network because better matters.
We continue to salute some of our brave men and women celebrating Veterans Day. Now that's coming up later tonight on ABC. Wolverines and Hawkeyes, as those in the armed forces sporting their school colors. That'll be 8 o'clock tonight on ABC. Of course, Michigan's defense has been superb. Number 1 in the country in points per game, only giving up 10.7. Iowa's pulled off an upset like this before, back in 2008. Maybe then number 3 Penn State. But we will see if number 3 Michigan can stay the course.
You see Jalen Hurts over on the sideline. The thing that's been most remarkable about him this season is his poise and his ability to go to the next play, whether it's a great play he just had or a poor play like that fumble on 4th down. His poise and maturity and ability to move to the next play and not get flustered, I think, is one of his greatest qualities, and why Nick Saban has so much faith and trust in him as his quarterback, even as a true freshman.
It's Mark McLaurin with the fumble recovery. It's now Mississippi State back on offense. Fitzgerald nearly picked off by Ronnie Harrison. Holly.
Well, Jalen Hurts with an interception and a fumble today. I've tried to watch his behavior closely because of what his teammates have told us about how he's able to shake off those mistakes. After the interception, he came to the sideline. The only thing I saw is he shook his head side to side, sat down, and refocused on the next play. This time he came to the sideline. He told his teammates, I didn't see it coming on that hit that created the fumble, but he is right back on what's next for this team. And his teammates say his ability to move on helps all of us move on after mistakes.
Everybody talks about that trait with him. 2nd and 10. Fitzgerald pressured, and he throws incomplete. And as he's going to need a hand up after Dalvin Tomlinson got to him.
So many solid senior players on this Alabama defense, particularly in their front 7. Dalvin Tomlinson, a 5th-year senior. Talked about Jonathan Allen, Ryan Anderson, another 5th-year guy, Tim Williams, a senior, Reuben Foster, a senior. Guys that are on a mission this year.
Design quarterback run. And that cut to the outside worked out well for Nick Fitzgerald. A 1st down for Mississippi State.
Yeah, the first breathing room he's had running the football. He's big, but he also has speed. Nice cut right there to the outside. Picked up a block on Ronnie Harrison, the safety. And the first big running play of the ball game for Nick Fitzgerald.
20-yard run and a 1st down past midfield at the Alabama 43. Let's go back down to the field to Holly after the Shumpert run.
Well, Nick Fitzgerald is really toughing it out here. In the early first half, I saw him go down and grab that left ankle. I noticed coming out from the locker room at halftime, he's had it taped up severely, but he was able to get outside, show a little speed on that last run, but his jersey's covered with grass stains, his knees all bruised up. He's been taking a beating out there, but he keeps on coming.
His father, Derek, looking on. That'll be a thrill to see your son playing against #1 on the road and competing the way he has today. Staying in there tough. 2nd and 7. Now thrown into bracketed coverage. Let's go to Adnan.
All right, thank you very much, Tess. The Holiday Inn Express Smart Move update. Once again, it's Baylor and Oklahoma. Big 12 shootout. D.D. Westbrook starting again. 5th multiple touchdown game in his past 7 outings. He's been great for the Sooners. 35-10 for Baker Mayfield and company, Joe.
And a trip, Adnan, to West Virginia next week for Oklahoma. Third down and 7. And they're going to run the ball and struggle to get anything with Mixon and Ryan Anderson finding him there. Well, the Big 12 was dismissed a few weeks ago when Baylor and West Virginia, but now all of a sudden, look at Oklahoma, unbeaten, still in conference play. And you never know what happens in November, Todd, do you?
No, you never do. Most significant games of the season. So much at stake, so many rivalry games.
Check Snyder on to punt again. And a fair catch at about the 16-yard line as Bama coasting in for yet another one. Now, this was the scene earlier today high above Bryant-Denny Stadium as the crowd roared with the A-10 Warhogs performing the flyover, and the Air Force pilots who provided that celebrated down on the field. Holly?
Well, I am down here with the 23rd Commanders who just did the flyover. Guys, what's it like to be down here on the field after you've already seen it from the sky today?
It's obviously fantastic. We had a great time this morning, been able to have the honor of doing the flyby by the game, and now to be down here and then watch Alabama get rolling is fantastic.
It's pretty stressful not messing up the flyover, right? How is that to do it right?
As long as you have great leadership right here, you just hang tough with it and stay where you're supposed to be.
Well, thanks for your good work, guys.
Well, Josh Jacobs is flying right through the Mississippi State defense. We're going to check on a flag at the 41-yard line.
I think it's going to be a face mask penalty on Jacobs at the end of the run.
Personal foul, face mask on the defense, number 9. 15-yard penalty, first down.
I think this could have gone either way, actually. Jamoro Graham is the guy that got flagged for it, but watch the end of the play. Another outstanding run. Nice block by Forrestal, 87. The end of the play, I think they both got hands on face mask. And I thought Jacobs had the worst of it. I mean, that could go either way.
So first down for the Tide. Hurts was looking for the pass, and that takes the look of a bit of an option there as he's got the initial read and still running his way towards the 15-yard line. That can go to Dieter, or could keep it himself.
That's the RPO game, the run pass option. There's a built-in run and pass connected to it. Hurts was looking for the pass option, and then he has that ability as a runner when he doesn't like either one to take it himself.
Hurts. Touchdown Tide. Ardarius Stewart again.
Well, this couldn't be going any better for Lane Kiffin, for Jalen Hurts, for the passing game of Alabama, building towards the end of the season and making those skill guys, those older skill players, happy by getting their hands on the football today. Jalen Hurts, you can see he's an accurate thrower. He stays in the pocket, makes a nice throw for the touchdown. 25 of 34 now, closing in on 300 yards passing.
This is exactly what they wanted his day to look like. Coming off the LSU slugfest, let's have him use that arm, they said, and he has with great impact. Always great to have you for Dr. Pepper's Championship Drive Game of the Week. beautiful day down here in T-Town. High above Bryant-Denny, where aerial coverage is provided by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. 21 straight wins for Alabama, and during that stretch, they have been outscoring their opponents by an average of nearly 24 points per game. Here, 37-3 in the third quarter. Brandon Holloway from just beyond his goal line. Didn't get back to the 20. Well, coming up later, we've got more college football action on ABC. Second-rate Clemson hosting the Pitt Panthers. That's at 3:30. And then tonight, Michigan, number 3 now in the country, at Iowa. You know, we get the official ballots of the voters each week for the Heisman Trophy, and Jabril Peppers is sitting there in third. Jake Browning made a huge move. Of course, he's going to have a showdown game, but way out in front, one of the largest leads we've seen in over 8.5 years is Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, he's that dual threat quarterback that you would need to play against this Alabama defense.
You know, it's interesting you say that, Todd, because there's a good chance that Louisville doesn't make the college football playoff, but they may score some of those points on that checklist that you put forth.
Well, I think they would. I think Ohio State also would score some of those. J.T. Barrett, another dual threat guy from the quarterback position. Be interesting to see those two teams, the next two outside the top 4. A lot of big games left to play in this month.
Now, those are the bubble teams right now. And hey, USC, that's incomplete that time, as Evans had coverage. USC could do a lot of teams a favor tonight, as Fitzgerald is slow to get up. Of course, they have the showdown with Washington. But let's talk about the quote-unquote bubble teams to make the 4, as you frame Ohio State and Louisville in the conversation with Washington.
Yeah, both quality teams. You know, Ohio State really, since that upset loss in Happy Valley, they've really kind of righted the ship. They were very impressive a week ago. Got the big showdown with Michigan ahead.
The winner of the Big Ten, if everything stays the course right now, is in my eyes. The winner of the Big Ten will make the college football playoff. So we wait to see what happens with the Ohio State-Michigan game, and then, of course, the Big Ten title game a week later, as Mississippi State will be punting away again.
Now, this is not a fun time to be a quarterback against Alabama right now. 37-3, you're kind of looking at throwing. Fitzgerald's now missed on 15 of his last 18 passes, and when they can pin their ears back and really come after you, it's difficult.
Let's check in with Adnan.
All right, Joe, thank you very much. Once again, back to Knoxville. It's over on the SEC Network, Kentucky and Tennessee. This is Josh Dobbs to Josh Malone. 15th touchdown Dobbs is responsible for in 4 games versus the Wildcats. 28-16 right now. Tennessee has the lead early in the third. Joe?
So Adnan Dobbs with 3 touchdown passes today. Tennessee with a 12-point lead. Florida up 17. Remember, Florida could clinch the East with their win and a Tennessee loss, but now the Vols up 12. Still a lot of time to go in that second half against Kentucky.
Former player of mine at North Canton Hoover High School, Austin Appleby, at the quarterback position today for the Gators.
Austin, O.J. Howard with a good reception. Austin was a basketball player for you with a freshman, sophomore year early on.
Started his career at Purdue and graduate transfer. Florida this year.
First down toss to Howard, and now they go with a bubble this time as they find Sims, who fights his way to the 20-yard line. Boy, the continued passing attack from Jalen Hurts. They wanted to get him this kind of work, and they are sticking to that plan.
And again, I think the better that they are throwing the football, the better their running game is going to be, because you have to commit extra defenders. outside to cover, and that opens up running lanes.
They're going to throw on 2nd and 2. Right over the middle. Stewart again. It looks like they just replayed what happened moments ago.
And look at the quarterback. The quarterback doesn't jump up and down. He doesn't raise a fist. He is the coolest guy that I've seen. He makes the throw. He watches it. Then he goes down and gives that to his receiver.
So now 3 touchdowns today for Ardarius Stewart. He has 7 touchdowns now on the year. ...156 yards and 3 touchdowns. And it's still the 3rd quarter.
A combination of Ridley and Stewart on the outside and Howard on the inside. As dynamic of a trio as you're going to find. And this is just Stewart running a deep in route. Good pass protection. Right into the vision of Jalen Hurts. Same kind of route as he threw the touchdown earlier. And then watch Jalen Hurts. After a huge game today where they put it on his shoulders to make throws, nothing to it. Just another day at the office for young Jalen Hurts.
Well, you know, because Jalen Hurts has run the ball so much this year and been very effective from the quarterback spot running it, it takes away a lot of plays that other guys could be making. And to their credit, Ardarius Stewart, Calvin Ridley, and O.J. Howard, guys who all 3 should probably be All-American candidates, they haven't complained. Lane Kiffin told us the other day, I haven't heard those guys complain once that they're not getting balls, that they're not getting passes looked at their direction. Said our team is unselfish. They know we've got this young, special quarterback, and they've been very patient in letting us develop him, and it's paying off today. I think they're getting a little love.
Holly, that speaks volumes about the culture of the place. You know, it's also not a typical Alabama offensive line, aside from having the development of the freshman quarterback.
Well, again, this couldn't have been any better for Alabama because, as Holly mentioned at the very beginning of the show, not only did we say they want to throw the football, they want to develop Jalen Hurts, they want to make those perimeter guys happy, they also got some banged up running backs that they wanted to rest and give a chance to get healthy, and they've been able to do all of that. Not run the ball very much, not run their quarterback. Jalen Hurts having a career day throwing it, and it's been just what they wanted.
Further confirmation of Bama sitting on top of your top 6, but take us through what you see here.
Well, you know, my top 4 has not changed very much. I think Alabama, Michigan, Clemson, Washington, and then those other 2 on the outside looking in. They're very close in Ohio State and Louisville, waiting for somebody to slip up ahead of them. But it's just fun. It's fun to see these games this month, and each week the pressure mounts, the pressure builds, and it's interesting to see how teams handle it. That's one of the things everybody's talking about Washington tonight. Can they handle the pressure of being in the position they are and playing a game the magnitude of the SC game tonight? We'll get a chance to see how they handle it.
You and I have spent a lot of time with those 2 teams, Washington and USC this year. We're just with USC last week. It was a good shovel pass on the inside that time from Fitzgerald, as they're able to get the first down on 2nd and 5. Guys, on game day today, we're giving us an in-depth look of that matchup. But with what you just experienced of the new look of USC, especially offensively, what kind of success do you think the USC offense will have tonight?
Well, I think USC will have success offensively. I'm not sure if they're good enough defensively to slow down Jake Browning in that Washington offense. But I think with Sam Darnold at quarterback and his dual threat capabilities and kind of the magic he's brought to that offense, I think USC will score. I would expect that game to be a high-scoring affair tonight.
As Gerald downfield, incomplete, looking for Ross, gets the flag. That was the quarterback change that turned USC's season around. We're going to get a quarterback change most likely over here for a different reason. As you just saw Cooper Bateman warming up, as Jalen Hurts has 347 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Pass interference on the defense, number 28. See that? 15-yard penalty, automatic, First down.
This game is out of reach, but this is again why I think you need to try to attack downfield against Alabama. Their corners are very handsy. They love to put their hands on you. They reach and grab a lot. Most of the time they get away with it, but you have to put them in positions to try to make plays on the football. And if you have wide receivers that are able to win one-on-one battles down the field, you can make plays on this Alabama defense. You just can't hold on to it very long if you're the quarterback throwing it.
The more I watch this defense, the more I think it's the only hope against them. First down, just beyond midfield, as Fitzgerald will take it ahead. And he's tackled by Rashaan Evans. Fitzgerald's going to be fun in the coming years for Mississippi State. I think they've got a lot to grow on here with the young man from Georgia. As his dad, Derek, looks on. He's athletic. He's fast. And as they said, we saw enough in him, even if they ran the wishbone in his high school, that they knew they could coach him up.
Yeah.
Second and 6, and that was thrown to the inside of Mixon.
Well, checking in with Derek Fitzgerald, Nick's dad, before the game, I said, you know, what is it that has made your son special to be having this kind of year he's having for Mississippi State? And he said he wants to win everything. Ever since he was a kid, he's been one of the most competitive kids. He hates losing at everything. He played in baseball, they won state titles. He played in basketball, they won there. So he has been an all-around athlete. He played baseball and basketball through his junior year of high school before he focused solely on football. But his competitive spirit, his dad said, has shown through his whole life.
I was back in Richmond Hill, Georgia. That high school program, they ran the wishbone. The previous quarterback went to Air Force to continue running the triple option. 3rd and 6 as he was being chased down and had to get rid of it. It was Sean Dion Hamilton coming in hard against Fitzgerald.
It's one of the things you've seen out of this Alabama defense. A little higher percentage of 5-man rush, in some cases 6-man rush, under Jeremy Pruitt, the new defensive coordinator this year, replaced Kirby Smart, who's now the head coach at Georgia. Jeremy likes to bring a little bit of linebacker pressure, even though he's got 4 guys that can really create pressure on their own.
Let's go to the studio and say hello to Adnan again. We'll check in with Adnan in just a little bit. 44-3 as Alabama continues on with what will be the nation's longest win streak after the loss last September 19th to Ole Miss. They have been tearing through everybody. 21 straight as it stands right now.
New quarterback, but same starting offensive line. Different right guard in there right now. Lester Cotton back in at right guard. He had a rough game against LSU a week ago in the start. That's why they went with Corn Curvin tonight, but Lester in there now.
And Cooper Bateman to pass and tried to shovel it forward. Incomplete. Was looking for Josh Jacobs. So the game plan doesn't change with Bateman in there. That's what they're committed to today.
Well, I think also that the thing they can work on right now is developing some of these younger wide receivers. They've got some guys in there right now, in particular Trevon Diggs, number 7, that they want to get the football to. They see him as potentially a big part of their offense going forward. Miller Forrestall, number 87, a freshman H-back type out of Cartersville, Georgia. Good opportunity to get those guys involved. But they have to stay on sides.
False start. Offense, number 87. 5-yard penalty. 2nd down.
I think Fitzgerald's going to be feeling this game for a few days. 2nd and 15. As Jacobs patiently waited for that hole to open. Let's see if we got Adnan now. What's up, my man?
All right, Tess, thank you very much. I want to update you on what's happening here in West Virginia and Texas. Kennedy McCoy here, the 3-yard touchdown run, had no career rushing touchdowns entering today. 24-13 right now. Mountaineers have the lead. Tess, back to you and Todd.
McCoy, a couple of touchdowns today against Texas. By the way, Deontay Foreman, have people been waking up to what he's been doing running the ball for Texas? Has over 100 yards again today. Came in as the nation's leading rusher, even getting a smattering of some Heisman support. He's had an outstanding season with the Longhorns trailing by 11 right now. Let's go to the field to Holly.
Well, we told you before the game, Bo Scarborough, the running back for Alabama that folks call the Hammer, was questionable today. He's got a strained ligament in his right knee. He's got a pretty heavy brace on, and it really helps that they did not have to play him today because they have Chattanooga next week, and he can really rest up and get healthy for, guess what, Auburn.
That is shaping up to be a great one. We'll see what happens with Auburn today against Georgia. And this is going to be a long, well-driven punt by J.K. Scott. As Ross tries to get some of it back. Celebrating its 12th year sponsoring the Good Hands Field Goal Nets, Allstate makes contributions to participating universities' general scholarship funds for each field goal and extra point kick. And to date, Allstate has contributed millions in scholarship funds. Today, Alabama has helped that cause greatly with 44 points up on the board. 62-yard punt by J.K. Scott, one of the best in the country. And as the Bulldogs back out there in this final minute of the third quarter. Williams gets free. You don't see that often against that Alabama front. Minkah Fitzpatrick finally gets to him.
A really nice job by the center. Watch right here in the middle of the screen, the center with a nice block, just a zone blocking scheme. Jamal Claiborne with a nice block, 24-yard run for Harris, or Williams.
So a first down out at the 47. Now Fitzgerald will pull it and sling it downfield, but well off the mark looking for Ross.
You don't normally get busts in coverage by Alabama. You don't normally get guys running wide open behind the secondary. You got to make throws against tight coverage, and your receivers have to win one-on-one battles. Sometimes you got to just throw it up in a position where either guy can make a play and trust that your offensive guy is better making plays at the ball in the air.
Like Deere getting some work. This third quarter was all about Jalen Hurts and Ardarius Stewart as they connected
That's the end of the third
for the
quarter.
2 touchdown catches. Stewart has 3 touchdown receptions on the day. That ties a school record. Tie rolling as usual.
Saturday night, you know we ready to.
Well, isn't it fitting that the national championship trophy presented by Dr. Pepper is that close to the Nick Saban statue here today at Alabama? You know, Nick is making history today, and he could make a little more in his final 15 minutes. 45th career game coaching the #1 team in the country. That ties Woody Hayes and Bobby Bowden, and looking for the 40th win as the #1 team all time. That time Malik Deere is able to secure it. That was a good pass by Nick Fitzgerald, muscling it right in there. 23-yard reception.
And really good use of his eyes. He came out with the snap looking left, and that sent Sean Dion Hamilton, the linebacker, moving that way and opened up a nice little throwing lane to get it to Deere.
Fitzgerald steps up to get away from John Allen. And that is intercepted by Tony Brown.
Well, after making a great pass to play before, he made a careless throw on this one. Fitzgerald's going to do a nice job of getting out of the pocket and eluding the rush, but he's going to lose sight of the safety. Tony Brown, the star, he just kind of flipped it out there, not nearly enough on that ball. And that's just a careless throw by the young quarterback, and one he wishes he had back.
There's Tony Brown getting more playing time as Minkah Fitzpatrick had to move over to replace Eddie Jackson, veteran safety who was out for the season with the broken leg. And that ball out belt is right over his shoulder. One of the newer traditions for the defense here in Tuscaloosa. They battle over that thing both in practice and in games. Anybody who gets a turnover gets to claim the belt.
Yeah. Well, they've had several this year.
"24 times they've gotten to Bama territory, but only 3 on the scoreboard."
Well, that's better than LSU accomplished last week. Last week, LSU did not run one single play inside Alabama's 30-yard line.
They only had 125 total yards of offense. Josh Jacobs with a nifty move as he's out past the 30-yard line. Jacobs has been such a pleasant surprise over the course of recent months. Had his first career start against Kentucky, went over 100 yards. Then he was a guy who fell through the cracks of recruiting, which is very rare for an Alabama player. He had Wyoming and New Mexico State as other offers, but folks started coming in late. Mizzou and Oklahoma, and then Bama visited a week before signing day, and here he is. 3rd and 2, and here he goes.
Alabama starting to get some subs in the game. Cam Robinson out of the game, the left tackle. Their most talented offensive lineman.
Remember, Holly talked about the depth situation at running back as Bo Scarborough dealing with injuries. B.J. Emmons out injured, so now Derek Gore in the game for the Tide. Young man from Syracuse, New York, by way of Milford Academy with the carry.
Made this point before about Alabama's offense and their offensive line in particular. Very, very rare that you would see this. Cam Robinson, as a junior, showed up out of Monroe, Louisiana. From day one, he was a starter at left tackle. Jonah Williams, who is now coming out of the game, number 73, he showed up this year from Folsom, California, and from day one he has been a starter at right tackle as a true freshman. Player of the week that the coaches vote on 5 of 9 games this season. He is a special young player.
2nd and 8. Here's Gore again. Let's go to the studio to Adnan.
All right, Tess, an update from the Big Ten, the number 10 team in the country. Penn State facing Indiana. This is Chris Godwin, 21-yard touchdown, 2nd of the day. Currently Penn State down by 3. It's on ABC and ESPN2, depending on where you are. Joe?
So Indiana up on Penn State. They will be at Michigan next week. And they've had 2 straight wins at the Hoosiers. 3rd and 5 as Gore just tries to spin for something, makes his way to the line of scrimmage. Holly?
Well, speaking of that offensive line, I'm pretty impressed with what I've seen from Corin Curvin today, number 78 for Alabama. He stepped in and did a very nice job at right guard in that first half. Just think about this. Now he's out playing left tackle for Alabama. And he used to be a defensive lineman, so he has shown that he can play anywhere Alabama needs a little extra help. Good job today by Corin Curvin.
And Holly, wouldn't you agree that that is the great concern in terms of the interior of the offensive line for the Alabama offense, of what kind of consistency and production they get there.
Yeah, I think, you know, Lane Kiffin was really honest. He said, look, we haven't played inside the way we're used to around here. That could be an issue going forward.
As that is fielded just beyond the 10 that time. And we will take a break. Tide bringing it home here in T-Town. Well, that is Tuesday on ESPN, the 6th annual State Farm Champions Classic from MSG, Kentucky, Michigan, Duke, Kansas, and in between the great college basketball games, we'll have the CFP rankings release from the Garden. And all the young talent coming into college basketball. Let me tell you something. The Fox kid at Kentucky, I was watching some of the highlights last night. He is as fast of a guard as you will see in the game right now, Todd. He is sensational. So Damian Williams now in at quarterback. You know, it was interesting last night also watching what was going on in college basketball to see Indiana, the overtime win against Kansas. You went and spent time with the Indiana team. Your son Harrison played a game against them.
Yeah, the Hope College Flying Dutchman had a exhibition game against Indiana, getting them ready for the Jayhawks. But that was fun. What a great place to watch a game at Assembly Hall. And Tom Crean was very gracious to my family and showed us a great time out there.
Gabe Miles on the reception. Damian Williams, who replaces Nick Fitzgerald here. You know, he came in against LSU, sparked a bit of a comeback when Fitzgerald was injured. They came up short there. He was Dak Prescott's backup back in 2014, then redshirted all of last year, was dealing with an arm injury. Actually started the Egg Bowl back in 2013. Dak had to come in off the bench in that game. So he has experience. Fitzgerald is the present and the future. And he sidearms this that time, trying to get it to Miles.
Tried to get it out there quickly. It's not the easiest thing to do. You still got to kind of step into that throw.
Backfield is Lee. He was brought down right away that time. Williams with a good ball right into the pocket of Jamal Couch. Holly.
Well, you're talking about how good this Alabama defense was and is. Last year they were pretty good too. This is Reggie Ragland and A'Shawn Robinson, two of the very best to ever play for Alabama. Reggie, we were talking about the leadership on this defense. I remember last year your voice and A'Shawn's voice really controlling things for this team. How do you think that leadership has developed and passed down?
I say just really guys just working hard. I know for me, I had Nico Johnson, Trey Priest, and C.J. Mosley. And my first year coming in, all those guys was telling me how it was going to be. And as a freshman, you're like, yeah, okay. And then, but once as you go through it, you see how everything is. And C.J. taught me so much because he's one of the ones that helped me learn the defense. And then when I had my chance to get the opportunity to teach Ruben and Sean Dion all the things I learned from them, and then now Ruben is passing it on to Sean Dion and all those other guys. So it just really passes down. It's a brotherhood, really.
This week, Nick Saban had a really funny quote, A'Shawn. He said, we got a bunch of hateful guys playing defense. What did you think when you heard Coach's quote of how these guys play?
You know, you got to play with a lot of anger and hostility, I feel like, on the defense, because that's the only way you can play defense. You got to have a lot of heart, and, you know, you got to play with, you know, a lot of emotions, but you got to control them at the same time. So saying that, it means you just got to go out there and play like a madman every play.
How proud are you that the defense continues this tradition and they're just as good this year, if not better than you guys?
I think it's great, you know. It shows how great the defense is, no matter who leads, who's coming in. It shows the next man's ready to step up and take the role and dominate.
Okay, and Reggie, I know you're coming off an ACL, a disappointing rookie season for you, but how's the rehab going and everything going?
It's going really well. Right now I'm just rehabbing, getting and everybody's been so helpful with the Buffalo Bills organization. So they opened me up with open arms. So I'm just really taking my time and just learning everything I can and come back next year and be healthy.
All right. Well, we appreciate your time. Thanks, guys. Can't wait to see you back out there on the field. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Reggie's Bills and Ashawn's Lions on bye weeks this week as Johnson has the reception there. You know, Reggie still comes down here every couple weeks, works on his rehab, and obviously the facilities down here and the support staff that he was conditioned to is to his liking. The Alabama defense today has been in typical form.
They're very difficult to run inside on. And you got to win one-on-one battles outside. And if they do make any mistakes, whether it be in coverage or turn somebody loose, you've got to capitalize. And Mississippi State, like so many other teams, not really able to do that today. I did think Mississippi State's offensive line did a pretty good job of protecting Nick Fitzgerald, even though he got hit and knocked down several times. Alabama in that ferocious pass rush that was averaging 4 sacks a game, only 2 sacks of Nick Fitzgerald in the game today.
They're standing on 4 wins with Arkansas and Ole Miss still to play. And Lee tries to push it ahead for a yard there, and it'll be 4th down. I mean, you knew it was going to be somewhat of a reset year for Mississippi State. I mean, you lose what you could make a very strong argument is the greatest player in program history in terms of production and significance as to what he was able to accomplish, Dak Prescott. And this is the kind of program that Dan Mullen has where you're going to have to cycle up a little bit, develop guys, and then reload for the next run. Now, as Levi Wallace is a little slow to get up. We will check on the reserve defensive back when we come back.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Jared, the Gallery of Jewelry.
Now that Alabama defense has been all over Nick Fitzgerald, plenty of Jalen Hurts offensively. You know, that Bama defense that since the start of 09 has given up the fewest touchdowns in the country and only a field goal on the board for Mississippi State today. It's under 6 minutes to play as number 1 closes in on win number 10. Williams able to sling it downfield and nearly completed it to Couch. Jalen Hurts set them up for this big lead. His 4th game with 100+ yards passing and over 100 rushing. Beautiful day here in T-Town as you're watching the SEC on ESPN. Aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Win number 10, 5.5 minutes away for the number 1 team in the country. See what happens with Auburn later today against Georgia. But Alabama would clinch the West with this win and then an Auburn loss as Cam Sims adds to the total yardage marks for the Tide today. Cooper Bateman in at quarterback in relief of Jalen Hurts. 31-yard reception there.
Now a situation where Nick Saban's trying to run up the score, just trying to get some work in the passing game with some of the other backup guys. Started the game this way with Jalen Hurts and finishing it this way with Cooper Bateman.
Bateman to pass again, and he gets that complete down to the 16-yard line to Derek Keefe.
Derek Keefe played at LaSalle High.
Here's Gore now. He was met, but spins for a yard. Adnan.
All right, Joe, thank you very much. Sorry about the pregnant pause. Just so fired up here for Penn State and Indiana. Nick Westbrook here, the 40-yard touchdown reception. So currently exciting game here. Penn State, Indiana. Indiana has that 3-point lead. J.T. Barrett and Ohio State Buckeyes taking on the Terps. That game is coming up next. Back to you and Todd Tess.
That seems like it's been a fun one. Penn State and Indiana going back and forth.
Indiana can score. Their offense under Kevin Wilson has been pretty good the last few years. Defensively, they've had trouble.
Here's Ronnie Clark into the game now and running back. Stewart and Hurts had a big day. Ardarius Stewart with 8 receptions, 156 yards, 3 touchdowns. And Jalen Hurts, first Bama player in the last 20 seasons with 300 passing yards and 100 rush yards in the same game. Of course, many thought it was just an accomplishment to be the first true freshman starting quarterback here in 32 years. But now the record book is being rewritten. As Clark takes it ahead. And so relaxed. Poises the word always tagged.
Yeah.
To Jalen Hurts.
Well, it jumped off the film at me when I watched the first time I put the Ole Miss film on as we were getting ready to do the Arkansas game. And I saw him get sacked, almost got his head knocked off, fumbled. It was returned for a touchdown. It gave Ole Miss a 21-point lead in Oxford. Place was going crazy, and all Jalen Hurts did was come out the next possession and hit a deep in route on his first play and lead them down the field for a touchdown and got Alabama back in the ball game and won.
Diggs into the end zone. Trayvon Diggs, the freshman from Maryland.
Well, this play has been a big part of what they've done all day. Same play they ran with Ardarius Stewart. They give it to Diggs. The little touch pass, and it counts on getting a key block at the tight end position. That's Miller Forrestall, freshman. Nice block on the outside also by the wide receiver Robert Foster. They think this Diggs is going to be an outstanding player. Young receiver out of Gaithersburg, Maryland.
Everybody's getting playing time now. Andy Papanastos, the backup kicker, in for the extra point to send them over half a hunch. 51-3. College football playoff rankings are brought to you by Capital One. Now Alabama will move onward. We get to see the rest coming up, including Ohio State, Maryland, right here on ESPN. And then Auburn, Georgia. Is that a game, rivalry game, that would concern you for Auburn?
Well, I think it has to be a bit of a concern just because, as you mentioned, it is a rivalry game. Georgia plays well against Auburn. And Auburn's not been, they're not 100% healthy, particularly on the offensive side of the football. It sounds like White and Petway may very well play, but how effective they'll be is a little bit of an unknown right now.
I think everybody's been just circling the date and looking ahead to Thanksgiving weekend and the Iron Bowl, but Auburn with some business to take care of today against Georgia, as Holloway will take a knee. A lot of people refer to next Saturday in the SEC as Cupcake Saturday. Do not say that around Nick Saban. At his press conference this coming week, he will rave about Chattanooga. But there it is, Auburn, the team that has redefined itself now with Rhett Lashley calling the plays. They are running the ball incredibly well. And that defensive front is as close to Alabama when it comes to as much pure talent as you can have.
Well, again, going back to the original point, the SEC this year, unlike other years, is not a great defensive league. You've got Alabama's defense, you've got LSU's defense. Those are elite defenses. I think Auburn is the next one in that pecking order. And it'll be interesting to see how Jalen Hurts and the offense do against that defense.
Well, you know, when Auburn's good and we get these showdowns, we get some of the most memorable games of all time. The Iron Bowls, like 2010. That was the Cam comeback when Bama led by 24 and lost. 2013, the kick six. And then in 2015, it was the offensive thrower with Blake Sims and the boys, and #1 Bama won 55-44. And now it's probably the other way with the two great defenses meeting up in a couple weeks. Gabe Miles was brought down right away that time. Aaron Robinson getting some playing time defensively here in the last couple minutes. I think a lot of people around here would wonder if Auburn has enough offensive firepower. You know what they have with the defensive line, but do they have enough offensive firepower?
Well, you're not going to line up and just run it down after down against this Alabama defense. Again, you have to try to throw the ball vertically against them. And that's the one area where I think Sean White and Auburn needed to improve the most from the time we saw them, was their ability to throw the ball down the field vertically. His consistency throwing it vertically, their receivers winning one-on-one battles down the field.
Well, games that could impact the playoff push. You know, we talk about rivalry games. You see rivalry games across the board there. Washington State. That Washington State team, the way they turn things around after the early season speed bumps, that Apple Cup could mean everything in the Pac-12 if Washington can get through USC tonight. This is 4th down as Williams is brought down. That started happening in the first half tonight as Raekwon Davis comes up with the sack. Reminder coming up, action on ABC. Clemson, #2 team in the country, hosting the Pitt Panthers and James Conner. And then Michigan and Iowa will come your way at 8 o'clock tonight. As Jabril Peppers continues his sensational season. You know what he's done offensively. He has the 3 rushing touchdowns. Defensively, Donnie Brown, their coordinator, has them all over the field. 11 tackles for loss. And in special teams, he is a nightmare to cover. He is tracking right now #3 in our Heisman poll. As Clark continues to get some extended work here in the final minute. It's interesting when you sit with Lane Kiffin and Nick Saban and you get a sense of how they would like the day to look. If you showed them this box score, that is probably exactly how they would have written it, isn't it, Todd?
Exactly. Didn't want to overrun Jalen Hurts. They had run him over 40 times the last 2 games, only 11 carries. Wanted to work on the pass game, wanted him to throw the football. Mission accomplished. 28 of 37, 347 yards, and you got the ball to Stewart, Ridley, and Howard in a way you haven't done for the last couple weeks.
What a day it was for Jalen Hurts, the first player in Alabama history to pass for 300 and run for 100 yards in the same game. He goes for 347 and 4 touchdowns passing. He also rushed for a touchdown, 100 yards right on the nose. Tonight on ESPN, don't miss Sports Center at night. Lisa Kearney, John Anderson, they'll have the entire day of college football. We'll get you set with all the NFL news and UFC 205 updates. That'll be after Cal Washington State Sports Center at night. Holly.
I'm here with our Darius Stewart, who's still congratulating some of the Mississippi State guys. You know, the coaches told us before this game that they wanted to really concentrate on the passing game. Right. You with 3 touchdowns today, how do you feel like you developed in that area? Give us just a moment. Coach Saban's right here. Coach, yes, we're finished. You had talked about you wanted to be concentrating on the passing game. We were just talking to Ardarius, 3 touchdowns. How do you feel like you grew in that area?
Well, I thought we did a better job today. Hopefully it gives the quarterback more confidence. I know our receivers get frustrated sometimes if they don't make plays. They're good players, and we want them to make plays. So they had some opportunities today, and I think that's good.
Jalen Hurts became the first player in Alabama history with over 300 yards passing and over 100 yards rushing. You talked about balance at halftime. What kind of balance do you think that is?
I think it's great. I thought our offense played really well today. We controlled the ball. We controlled the tempo of the game, and I think that's really important when you play against a good fastball team like Mississippi State is, and control the tempo of the game on offense, and we did a fantastic job of that today.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you.
51-3, Saban's 40th win while being the #1 team time Woody Hayes and Bobby Bowden. Speaking of Bobby Bowden, what about Daniel and Joseph and Adnan, the college football scoreboard?